Hello, good afternoon to all of our viewers on our Zoom platform. You're joining us, listening to this conversation about how to grow your business using TikTok. Welcome to ShamsTalks, and we've got an esteemed panel to talk to us about the growth and popularity and significance of the social media platform, which at the moment has got over 1 billion active users. And across the world, people spend almost just under an hour, about 52 minutes a day on TikTok. This goes to show how popular this has been for content creators to get their names and themselves heard, and also for businesses to tap into the potential that the platform has to offer, which has become the 7th major social media platform across the world. To talk to us about the opportunities for our audience today, we have Mr. Arif Yahya, who is the head of retail and e-commerce at TikTok, as well as Khawla Al-Mujaini, who is the director of fairs and festival at Sharjah Book Authority. We also have Serge Zabel, who is the business director at Empire Entertainment, as well as George Shampers, the head of marketing at Deliveroo. We're also joined by Mohammed Swaidan, who's a content creator, as well as Honor Aladdin, the senior business development manager at Qanawati Music. We're joined by Mohammed Swaidan, who's the content creator, as well as Honor Aladdin, who is the senior business development manager at Qanawat Music. Good afternoon to all our panelists and our audience as well who tuned in. Let's start off with Mr. Arif Yahya to talk to us about the growth of TikTok and how the increased user base and database that they've got, and also the increased number of viewers and content creators, offers an opportunity for businesses to take an advantage of. So over to you, Arif. Talk to us about the growth of TikTok.
Part of the reason of why this platform has grown exponentially, to your point earlier, a lot of people downloaded it in the past 18 months and yes, are spending more and more time on it. We're also very happy to announce that we've recently crossed 1 billion users globally. So literally like 1 billion users more now are using the app very often. And the reason behind that is they go on the app and they find something that inspires them and that makes them joyful. That we hopefully love to leave you with a smile on your face by the end of your session. So this is a little bit about the starting point of what the app is. Now, creators are the DNA of the platform. The reason being is because when you go on the platform, you're not really there to watch content that is made by your friends, then that content that you are likely to be served is made by content creators. And we make the distinction between the word creator, such as Muhammad, and the word influencer, which we don't believe has a lot of space on our platform. Because given that this is a platform that is meant to increase your level of serotonin and make you happier, we're not here to influence you per se, which is again, nothing wrong with it, but it's a philosophy coming from other platforms. We're here for creators to make content that will uplift your spirit overall and hopefully inspire you based on the topics that you are interested in browsing. So the heart of what you see on the platform, the majority of what the algorithm is going to be picking up is not necessarily made by broadcasters, but by creators. And anyone can be a creator, regardless of how many followers they have. So some creators can have 1 million followers and can post something that is not relevant and can see that, hey, I'm not getting a lot of views on this video. I hope you don't face this, Muhammad. And some creators can have no followers, can start, and I can share with you examples of that, and can post a video that is very relevant. The algorithm picks it up. And because this works in a content graph framework and not in a social graph framework, the algorithm doesn't really care how many followers this creator has. And then more and more people end up picking it up. It's official by TikTok that brings together creators and brands. And that's overall what the platform is. Today, we have it available in the MENA region. We've listed more than 1,000 creators from Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. and we're obviously always working on increasing the number of creators out there. There's a process in terms of the creator applying on the platform. All the data is vetted, so the agreements are made there, and then they would be able to put themselves out there in terms of making themselves available for key brands to be able to get in touch with them.
It's amazing in terms of the new service that you've got and offering that connectivity for groups such as different companies, as well as government entities that we have here in the Emirate of Sharjah. And more of them are now looking at joining TikTok. So let's talk about Sharjah Book Authority, Khawla. You've just recovered from the book fair. It must have been a very, very busy last 11 days. I'd like to understand a bit more because, you're one of the few entities in Sharjah who advertised on TikTok. Why was that decision made, and who is your particular target audience as a book authority through this platform?
It's a forgiving platform where they can just swipe away the video and they can proceed. These group or these users are mainly, or most likely, they are young. And young people or young generation for us are critical as a knowledge and literature focused entity. So why did we choose to use TikTok as a marketing tool for our Sharjah International Book Fair? Because it is really critical for us to reach this group age. And when we started to use TikTok, we got lots of engagement from the targeted audience we were planning to have. Since we started our TikTok channel, we the first week we got around 73,000 followers, and they are really engaging with us. We feel like we already reached to them, and we got our message to reach to them. Why it is important to target this group age? Because we as Sharjah Book Authority, we want young people to read, and by having young people to read, we can say that we have the young people in a better position so they can lead us in the future.
It's amazing in terms of the response that we got at the book fair. So what was that like? How did they come up and say that they saw something on TikTok about the book fair, especially when it comes to the kids activities and even meeting authors? How was the response like?
We had to be a little bit playful and experiment the content that we post on TikTok, and most of the comments were, I've been there. I saw that. I attended for that author, and I attended this workshop. I mean, they were there attending the book fair and having fun, and they are posting about it, which is good.
It's amazing because during the book fair, we're also talking about with the authors in terms of how 30-second video content is now taking over people's times of reading books. But it's incredible how we brought them to read the books through such a platform. And another thing that I've noticed personally on TikTok is when it comes to food deliveries, we have a number of delivery drivers who also use TikTok themselves, and they spend their time and have their entertainment whilst they're waiting for the next order to be delivered. So there's a big trend on the hashtag Deliveroo. It has closed on about 115.4 million views. How are we taking the advantage of such user-generated content, and how do you control or mitigate any negative user-generated content? So let's move on to George Shempest to talk to us a little bit about this.
In general, actually, I think we've been incredibly lucky with a very organic sort of uplift from our riders. So what we do as Deliveroo is typically to just make sure that our riders are extremely happy. We do constant surveys to make sure that they're in a great place, how do they feel about their jobs. I think they're doing this because they genuinely just love what they do at Deliveroo, and I think we really look after them phenomenally well. So we realized years ago that one of our biggest drivers of new customer acquisition and drivers of growth is actually the riders and people seeing them out and about. So we invest quite a lot of money on the types of clothes that they're wearing and beautiful fancy helmets, and we're constantly getting better safety kit, better everything. And this is the kind of things that you'll see a lot on TikTok. If you go through a lot of the videos, it's especially those helmets. The new helmets look phenomenal, but reflective stuff everywhere. And this this is something that they really do put on there. Early on in the sort of TikTok, when TikTok was launching, I think what we did is we went to creators and we paid them quite a lot of money to get on Deliveroo and start a bit of a flywheel to get that kind of Deliveroo food delivery moments on TikTok. And you can sort of then start seeing consumers start playing with it. There's a lot of really funny content coming from consumers around this like push and pull, like, should I get food? Shouldn't I get food? Do I want to have my salary for shoes, or should I eat more Five Guys? And that's like a whole playful aspect that's on TikTok from consumers. And then there's one thing that I think goes very viral that we weren't anticipating at all was consumers pushing offers. So whenever we do like 50 dirhams off for any new customer, or any customer gets 2 weeks of free delivery when they try Deliveroo, these are things that customers are picking up and putting on TikTok by themselves, unincentivized. And I think maybe that somehow manipulates the feed and gets them lots of views and engagement. So we've been really, really lucky. And then in terms of putting up guidelines, we typically don't tell people what they can and cannot say. Social media is, or TikTok being a video platform, we give people its freedom of speech. They can say whatever they say, and we actually learn a lot from reading what consumers are saying and what's going online. So we look at everything that's going online. That helps us develop a better product, or really make sure that we're creating stuff for the riders or for consumers or restaurants that's going to be helpful to them. So we're also using it as a information gathering tool, and that's sort of across any social media.
So aside from information gathering and even looking at how your delivery drivers are performing and even having fun on TikTok itself, do you think that it solely should be for selling their products and services, or is this another little bit of a PR stunt that they can pull off using TikTok?
We definitely don't push anyone to do like sales through TikTok. TikTok, if you think about it, like it's there for content. It's such a feel-good platform. It's one of those things that you open up and you see everything, and it's just fantastic and it's fun. We're definitely not pushing that many sales on the organic sort of feed part of TikTok. We do, however, spend a lot of money on TikTok top view in sort of the paid placements, but in terms of telling riders, consumers, and restaurants what to do, we're definitely not pushing sales. It's there for feel good. The content that goes is supposed to be super native to the platform, and we're definitely not using it for that specific aspect. It's all about branding and hearing from the three parts of our marketplace.
It's amazing to see how during the pandemic, deliveries and other delivery companies were picking up in terms of their sales and in terms of their prominence just grew. People want to make content related to that. But the other thing that was affected was going to movies during the pandemic. So movie marketing has gone a long way. Instead of just advertising on the newspapers or having a piece on the magazine, there's an introduction for social media platforms and online advertisements. Did you notice a spike in admissions tickets since you introduced TikTok to your marketing channels? To get a thoughts from Empire Entertainment.
Hello. All right, just to give a bit of background, as a distributor in the region, we represent studios, and marketing movies is very different than marketing a sustainable brand. We have to tell a story for each movie. So each movie is considered like a guerrilla marketing campaign. You go, you tell a story, you excite the community and viewers on what the story is about, and ultimately, hopefully, they go and buy a ticket. TikTok is a very interesting platform, and I believe we were the first in the region to, as a studio, we represent Sony Pictures, to approach TikTok and to start collaborating with the content creators, because we directly understood that it's not a social media platform, it's a short content platform, and we could tell several stories or several messages that we needed to put forward through different types of content. So to link it directly to sales, I can't do that. I can say it's more about a storytelling perspective, and we were able with TikTok to really go in depth on what kind of messaging and positioning we wanted our movies to be portrayed at for the viewers. So we're continuing on TikTok. We have a lot of collaboration with TikTok for blockbuster movies to smaller movies. And I think the content creators in our region are phenomenal in telling stories. So we'll definitely keep on putting our efforts on TikTok for sure.
You also engaged the viewers with some challenges. How has that come about, and how did you come up with such ideas to ensure that these that it's not just a flick of the thumb and move on, but it's more, hey, you need to be engaged a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, the team, we have a very creative team, and we work. So other than the content creators themselves, our team always come up with different mechanics that fit the TikTok environment and the challenges and all that put together. Some of them come from global initiatives, but they came a bit later. We actually, as a region, were the first to really link a movie to a challenge, and it's extremely fun to see a challenge being picked up. And having an IP like a movie, a recognizable IP that people understand, they know what the movie is about, they understand the brand around it, makes it super fun for them to do different things around it. So we give them an opportunity to interact with a really big IP and something that's really known and create something unique out of it. And that ultimately gives us also an edge later on promoting the movie and having them to see more of that IP and that content.
And there's a popular notion amongst many users on TikTok that they say it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you put the right music, you're going to get the views. So let's get that clarified for lots of companies as well, because making those decisions on what contents to put out is a challenge, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work when it comes to how the algorithm works. So let's talk about how important is using that trending music or any recommended song that even TikTok offers to the content creator, to get some thoughts from Kanawat Music.
So basically, music is an intangible thing that therefore we need to understand a bit more about how to use it and why to use it. So if you ask me, the music is the most, let's say, important tool for carrying out emotions for the brands. And definitely using which music to use is quite important. To understand is actually, we need to understand, let's say, how we used music in our whole lives and before that. Like the oldest known song is currently like 3,400 years old. You can go to YouTube and listen to it. And people has been listening to music for more than 50, 60,000 years. So this is actually something that we have been coded in our genes, and we are actually carrying out our emotions and decision-making capabilities and cognitive abilities. It's impacting our, let's say, purchasing decisions from A to Z. It's been a part of our lives. So currently, as Kanawat Music, we represent, comfortably saying, the largest Arabic music catalog in the whole world, and we are licensing and distributing this content. So when it comes to brands for choosing which content to use, we actually encourage them to find out some 3 different key points that they need to be quite, let's say, assuring for before choosing the right song. The first thing is like defining the role of the music. Are they going to use this song as an, let's say, tool to carry out the message of their brands? If they're going to use this, how they're going to use this content? Are they going to use this partially, like, or whole content, or they're going to just use this music to empower a feeling that they would like to emphasize within this video? If they're going to use it as like an outro or an intro. And when they define it, they definitely need to know the audience itself. Like, obviously, there are some different underlining messages that they would like to give to different communities. It can be, let's say, some certain age period, or it can be some certain territory and so forth. So when they choose these 3 different categories wisely, then the rest is becoming like an history. Just to give an example, for example, in 2020 Ramadan, Hussein addressed me and Orange Macon content, which was a music video as an advertisement, Sunnat al-Haya, which was meant to be an advertising, ends up it has been viewed more than 250 million organically, not even like an advertising methodology, because the choosing of the whole, let's say, these 3 points was so right. And then they carried out the message that they would like to very, let's say, organically. And music has been the right tool to use in that point.
So do you come up with strategies for particular let's say, channels or platforms? Because if I was looking after the marketing for a government entity, if I added songs such as "Astronaut in the Ocean" or even "Jalebi," I'm going to get some very angry eyebrows staring at me. So, is there a strategy that you're working on as well on maybe having some content that is a bit more easy in the ears, for example?
Like for sure, there are different strategies based on the brand's needs, where we need to like understand first thing first how they are engaging with the content itself. And like whenever a brand or let's say an entity is looking forward to create some content in the platform, they need to first thing understand how they're going to use this specific content. Are they going to use this within this, let's say, video itself, or they're going to change the approach of this use of the content? Like it's actually, we need to go based on some different examples to, let's say, emphasize that.
It's incredible to see how it adds more work and more strategies involved for marketing departments to make sure that it all comes together. But for an individual such as Mohammed, who's joined us today, Mohammed Swaidan, let's start talking about your experience of using TikTok to be hitting those million views and having those pinned posts as well at the top. So how's the platform for you as an individual been, and why did you eventually focus on TikTok a bit more?
Cool. So how has the platform been? In short, absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
Why did I start? It started with an instinct to add value as much as I can through the short videos. Now, when I started, the main aim was to try as much as possible to share some of my university experiences. I downloaded TikTok when I was in my final weeks of university, and I realized that I was fortunate enough to go through it quite smoothly, whereas other students were struggling a little bit here and there. So I said, hey, this is a platform that's up and coming, and this may be a tool that I can use to help share my experiences to other students out there, whether they were high school students going into university, university students trying to get by, or even university students transitioning from university to, you know, life after graduation. And then after I graduated, I realized that I could make an even bigger shift, because exploring life as a graduate, as a person who no longer has academics at the core of his life, is an interesting journey. So my content started focusing a little bit more on the lifestyle angle of it. How am I navigating through life's new challenges? What kind of things am I doing to stay in shape? What kind of food am I eating? What kind of movies am I watching? What kind of books am I reading? So sharing all those different aspects of my life became my new focus, with, you know, a hint or an undertone of education.
So how do you come up with this inspiration apart from, you know, talking about your general life? Because the big tendency that people will have is it becomes like a narcissistic behavior to, hey, look at my life. Are you publicizing your life too much? Because then people look at probably producing motivational content, which sometimes you've done as well. So talk to us about, you know, where do you get that inspiration, and do you have your own board of directors in your own mind that says, okay, let's do this?
That's a great question. So my way of thinking, and it's pretty much the way I recommend to most content creators, is to have a solid why. You know, Simon Sinek has a great book that Start With Why, and it helps each person understand why he's on the platform, he or she is on the platform, and why they're creating content. Because once you answer that question and you have a really good reason besides, I want to be famous or I want to make money, then that why will be at the heart of everything that you post. And that will remind you that even if you want to be creative, and even if you want to explore different kind of videos and different types of content, that at the middle of it, you still have to be yourself. And that's where the difference between content creation and influencing falls in place, because we want to create content, right? We don't want to show off the life in a way that doesn't really add value to people. So once you identify that why, in terms of why am I on the platform, then you can move a step further and say, why am I posting this piece of content? Is it to educate people? Is it to shed light on an event that's happening? Is it to kind of just share a glimpse of something else? Once you identify the role of the specific piece of video that you're posting, then you can start tailoring different pieces of details, like what kind of music do I want to use? What kind of audience am I trying to target? What kind of metrics will I use to measure my success? All of those pieces of the puzzle will fall into place naturally as soon as you identify the reason behind every move. And one trap that a lot of people fall into is, oh, I posted a video, but it didn't get a lot of views, and they feel like they have failed. But that may not be true if that's not the right metric to use for success of something. For example, let's say I posted an educational video, something I wanted to pack a lot of information in, something that I really wanted to reach a specific audience in, and I got an X number of views. Well, views in this case may not exactly reflect the success of the video, because comments, on the other hand, might be more informative, to see the kind of conversations that are having, to see the kind of messages that I'm getting because of the video, to see how many shares it got and how people are, excited about sharing this piece of content outside the app. So depending on your reason behind posting content on TikTok, and based on the reason behind you posting that specific piece of content, you can then measure your success, and you can have a clearer direction in terms of growth from that point onwards.
And what was your why?
My why is to add value and to inspire and empower the youth as they go through life.
Amazing. Well, I wish you all the very best with that. So
Thank you.
let's shift our focus back to, from TikTok's perspective, how can influencers such as Mohammed here increase their exposure and visibility on the platform?
Creators. Yeah. So creators have a myriad of ways of how they can increase their presence on the platform. But I love, I want to borrow what Muhammad was saying about really finding their why, in terms of what is the reason that they are on the platform. Overall, the platform is about inspiring creativity and bringing joy. What does inspiring creativity mean for Muhammad? Is what can inspire creativity mean for any other creator on the platform? The more creators are clear in terms of what their plan is, in terms of what niche are they tackling, or what target audience are they after, the clearer it will become for brands that are out there to also find them and to be able to work with them. I mean, this is an ecosystem, right? Like any other ecosystem. So the way we see it, that the relationship between brands and creators is crucial, because at the end of the day, this is how creators will be enabled as well to continue doing what they're doing, and to continue to dedicate more and more of their time, and eventually maybe dedicate all of their time to creating content on TikTok, if this is what makes them happy. So this is what I would suggest basically, is be very clear in terms of what you want to do on the platform, because the clearer you are, the clearer it is to other people and to brands and advertisers out there to be able to work with you. And the best work we see that is happening between creators and brands looks and feels so native that sometimes it's difficult to say that, hey, this is actually an ad. Because of how the collaboration ends up working. So for example, when you use TikTok Creator Marketplace, which we were talking about earlier, a brand suggests what their brief is or what their business objective is. But the best advice we usually give to brands and partners that we work with is identify the right creator, brief them, and then gently get out of the way. So that you give them the flexibility and freedom to do what they do best, basically. If you are, as a brand, working with a creator expecting a TVC or a TV commercial, then you're kind of in the wrong platform, or using the wrong setup to go about this. But once there's clarity from the creators and on what they are up to, and there's clarity from the advertisers and in terms of what their business objective is, then the best collaborations take place recently. And the best part of my job, I look after retail and e-commerce partnerships. So right now, for example, if you open TikTok, you will find Crazy for Noon going on, which is the Noon hashtag challenge right before Yellow Friday launches. And we have 20 of some of the best macro creators on the platform participating. And there's thousands of other videos who have participated in this challenge that are just regular creators, everyday content creators who wanted to take part of this campaign in a very organic way. So that's kind of like top line what I would suggest, but happy to dive deeper into any topic you like.
Yeah, for sure. I think one, shout out to all of our viewers who are watching us on Zoom. There's going to be lots of you who have young ones, and you must have told them saying you're wasting too much time on TikTok. And then they're thinking we're going to make some money out of this as well eventually. But for a content creator slash influencer slash wannabe guy on TikTok, from my perspective, I posted a few videos initially and I got thousands of views at the start, and I got roped into the platform. Then I created a video on a fitness challenge, for example, didn't get many views. Then I went down the slide in the Expo 2020, got thousands of views, and the next video gets 50 views.
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that? That some people would be thinking the algorithm only supports certain events that might be funded through hashtags, or so how do I get those views to become eligible for a content creator studio as well?
Sure. So basically, the distinction we'd need to make is how the algorithm functions, which is based on a content graph versus a social graph. And I've had a similar experience as a user. Basically, I wouldn't call myself a creator, but before I even joined TikTok, I was working at Majid Al at the time, and we launched Drive-In Cinema, and it happened to be very relevant at the time. I had no followers. I had like 30 followers. And I posted about it and got 95,000 views because it was relevant. And that was a testament. That's what opened my eyes personally to the platform, as in, hey, this really works. Like, this really is not a social graph. Because if it were a social graph, I should have gotten at maximum, how many views? 30, right? Because I had 30 followers. The fact that I got 95,000 means that the algorithm didn't really care how many followers I had, but picked up a piece of content and was relevant. Next video was a very unsuccessful recipe I made, and have the humility to look back and say, okay, this didn't really deserve a lot of views, right? And it wasn't really catering to, what was in the zeitgeist at the moment either, right? So this is the distinction we would make. Now, I know that obviously, if a creator gets 100,000 views or 1,000,000 views, there's an expectation that the next video should get the same, but it's about the quality. So it's not, there's no entitlement, as in, and this is what democratizes the platform really, because it makes it more accessible to everyday people who don't necessarily have 1.4 million followers like Muhammad, but who just downloaded TikTok and are doing amazing content that is very relevant. They too have the right to get hundreds of thousands of views. So I would say just keep on going and keep trying. Tap into what's trending, tap into the zeitgeist. Obviously, that will help drive relevancy. And then also identify your niche. So if you are a food creator and you're posting a lot of recipe videos, and keep doing that. If all of a sudden you've pivoted into, I don't know, agriculture educational videos, then yes, like it might take a while for that to be identified, but there's really no like one secret recipe except being authentic and keep posting videos that are native to the platform, that are inspiring creativity, bringing joy, that are basically when users see them, they feel, okay, this belongs on the platform. It's authentic, it's joyful, it's meant to be here. And don't get too obsessed with how many views you get or how many followers. And if you're a brand, can have a different conversation, because they have a suite of solutions, obviously, and dedicated teams where we can work together with you. So if your business objective is upper funnel at the moment, totally respect that, and we'll help you find success there. If your business objective pivots into sales, we're 100% committed to deliver on that, because at TikTok, we don't believe in a marketing funnel per se. We believe that the funnel is one way of seeing marketing, but it has really collapsed on the platform, as in a single video can have a flywheel, which is moving from awareness to driving consideration to driving conversion, which is ultimately sales. So we can work on that. So I think the way we tackle it with brands is one way, where we sit down with brands, we help identify their business objectives, and we deliver on that. And for creators, we encourage them to continue posting their content authentically and genuinely.
In terms of trending events and topics, and also those genuine content, we've seen that Sharjah Book Authority has recently launched a campaign to encourage content creation, and it started as a TikTok page that has already achieved a great deal of engagement. So in your experience, how can businesses adapt their content to TikTok?
I would say the first and the most important step is to lose the stigma. Stop thinking that having content on TikTok is unworthy, because this is a very biased and ill-informed view. Also, the second step I would say is to be brave. Speaking from an government organizational with a government organization tone might not be suitable for TikTok as a platform, because, as mentioned, the users in TikTok are way different than any other social media account. And the third advice I would say is to create content freely, because, as mentioned previously, that TikTok is a very forgiving platform, and if the person didn't like the video, he would just swipe it away, and that's it. So yeah, create content freely and be creative in creating this content.
And it's incredible for all our panelists and people who are joining us here on Zoom to understand how the government in the Emirate of Sharjah in particular operates when it comes to Sharjah Media Council, Sharjah Media City, and our broadcasting as well, is to build that connection between the public and the government. And it recently concluded International Government Communication Forum. They also highlighted TikTok as being the new TV, as being the new platform for getting the message across. And we saw how the United Kingdom's vaccine drive was also put forward through TikTok. So I'd like to get a government entity's perspective. How important was it to be represented and have that communication on TikTok?
It was like really important, because for us as a government entity, and for us as a literature and knowledge entity focused, we couldn't reach that segment we were trying to reach like a couple of years back. Since we started our TikTok channel, we had the chance to reach to this segment and to this group age. So it is important to have a clear idea, a clear vision, a clear message you want to deliver to this market, or to this age group, or to this segment, and you can, of course, reach them freely, and your message will have the impact you are looking for by using this tool.
It's amazing, and it's great to see that more entities are utilizing it as a tool. And amongst the companies that have been doing really well also includes Deliveroo. And talk to us about the way that you've been reaching your target audience and the top tips as well. So George, if you could shed light on what have you learned when it comes to trial and error when using TikTok.
So I think, kicked off our first TikTok campaign somewhere around early 2019. I think where we started versus where we are now is definitely changed, predominantly because of the creative. TikTok does not perform well with the same type of content that you can run on any other social media platform. So it does mean, when we're creating, we start out by saying, what is it that we're trying to achieve? Is this, something that we're running by ourselves, as in purchasing ad placements, or are we running something that's more top of the funnel, super brand, and we're working with content creators? Obviously, I think something we figured out pretty early on is that brands cannot use any music we want. So creating that kind of like organic content doesn't really work that well for Deliveroo. So we have to really work around the legal, let's call it sort of limitations around, being a brand and trying to run cool content that's super trendy. So we, can't hop on those trends as easy. So what we do is we typically, when we're creating super fun, engaging content, we work with creators. They can do whatever they want with the music that they want. And, effectively just dropping our name in there, or wearing a delivery rider uniform, they can create stuff that's super cool and trending. And then on the ad purchasing sort of front, we've definitely changed the way we do the creative. Typically when you create campaigns, we can create that it runs on any other social media platform, but for TikTok you have to take a whole different view so that it looks much more native to the platform. So that was, I think, a very different sort of mindset, but what we, I think, achieved and did quite well it was you spend enough money, then you get a lot more insights and a lot more support from TikTok. And that gave us a lot of information so that this is a platform that actually really makes sense to us. We now know that about 2/3 of a specific audience that we're trying to speak to is on TikTok. So we choose that channel to speak to a very specific audience. And you can go after them and really make waves in terms of brand uplift, engagement, if you do better content. Yeah.
There's a specific team within the marketing side as well that look at influencer marketing. So how do you integrate that on TikTok when it comes to having that content put forward?
Coincidentally, we actually only spoke to TikTok this week for the first time, but we've actually gone an ambassador agency. We've got ambassadors that work with us over sort of annual contracts, and we work with them. They basically create content that matters to them. I think they choose their why, and they really just try and work deliver and sort of a specific message that we're trying to get across onto the platforms in a way that makes sense to them. So we've I think just kickstarted sort of our collaboration with TikTok and their creator platform, but so far we've been working with sort of a third party influencer agency, and then we basically give our ambassadors sort of a brief and say these are the key messages, and they go and create whatever it is that they want to create that makes sense for their followers that follow them because they love those ambassadors. Yeah, so for us it's just important that our creators are creating stuff that makes sense to their followers.
So in terms of moving on to the world of entertainment and movies, what are the tips when it comes to choosing the right movie to promote on your platform? And do you have an internal criteria that you look at that, okay, this particular movie is going to be relevant on TikTok, or does it have to be children's movies, or can it be any movie that can be promoted?
Obviously, every movie has a different target market, right? So the different audience that we need to put a message. We usually tend to focus our efforts based on what we've identified as the main target market. So obviously, if it's a young target market, TikTok is the right platform. But like I said earlier on, I'm just going to say it again, it's about storytelling. So we don't utilize TikTok like we utilize Instagram or even YouTube banners or platforms that where you can just put one message and just leave it there and let it grow. We utilize TikTok mostly for experiences and fun, and to storytell the movie and the story we're launching. And it so happens that the target market and the users on TikTok are young. So if there's a movie where we know they won't be interested in, no matter what we do and no matter how we tell the story, we tend to just not concentrate on TikTok. But that's becoming less and less today, because most of the movies that are going to the cinema right now are large audiences movies, and we need to tap into every single segment, whether it's the older generation, the younger generation, the teen, the tweens, male, female, families, and they're all on. Apart from the 60-year-olds, they're all on TikTok. They all enjoy TikTok. You have 35 plus people on TikTok. They enjoy. They don't engage. Maybe they don't maybe create a lot, but they swipe. They do look at the content. They do entertain themselves with the content. I sometimes I'm so not the person that would imagine myself being on TikTok, but I do sit on my bed and swipe through content because it's fun, it's funny, it's entertaining, it puts a smile on our faces. And what we try to do is whatever the movie that we're trying to launch, we try to do something on TikTok because it's a nice way for us to tell a story of that movie and to try to have people engage on it.
And how do you work with the local content creators? If we talk about Sharjah Media City, we recently worked with a number of local film producers, editors, and different aspects to get and produce one movie locally produced. So how do we help our audience who are into filmmaking to get that global recognition, and how do you help in amplifying using TikTok?
That goes back to the storytelling element. What makes your movie special? What makes your movie something that people will want to go and buy a ticket for? Again, we're talking about theatrical movies, right? Going to the cinema and buying a ticket. If it's on a platform, it's a different strategy. It's a different way of communicating. But when you're talking about cinema, you have a small window. Your movie's going to be on screen for X amount of time. You need to push your message in a very straightforward way to tell people you have this time to go buy a ticket and watch my movie. So the advice I would give, and we have these conversations with a lot of local producers, to tell them you have a nice movie. What message, why is this a movie where people are going to go buy a ticket and go spend money and watch it on the big screen? And TikTok is again a very nice platform because you can create so many I'm going to say parallel content around your movie that makes it interesting for people to be curious and say, okay, that seems like something I would like to watch.
And speaking on consumption, there's a lot of there's a bit of a negative notions at times, or a skeptic notion when we talk about Gen Z. It's like, it's the Gen Z. They're causing this change, without realizing that eventually they are the biggest segments for the entire generation. They will be in leadership positions soon. So how does an entity like Qanawat Music change their marketing strategies to appeal to the millennials and the Gen Z in terms of considering consumption?
The consumption of the content is tremendously changing, especially when it comes to the paradigm shift in the content itself. How it worked out was like much before that, because of the increasing bandwidth, it just the content has become image first, then it has become video, and then because of the increasing, let's say, number of content creators, the content consumption per, let's say, some specific time has been drastically dropped, so that now we are consuming the content even faster and faster. So the Gen Z itself is actually more tend to consume the content much more faster. So because this kind of platforms evolve like TikTok, now we have to create a content where it's going to be catchy at the same first second, then that people will be, let's say, engaging with this content. Now, when it comes to artist related, or let's say brand related content consuming, let's say, trends, we have to make sure that we are going to engage with the, let's say, the audience itself in a very short time period. It can be in, let's say, audio based, it can be in video based, or like both a very nice mixed version of this one. It'll be definitely being catchy. But when it comes to, let's say, new generation content consumption, the decision making of this, let's say, audience has become drastically dropped. We need to catch the, let's say, audience in a very short time period. And definitely this changed the whole marketing strategy of the brands. They need to be catchy, and they need to be specifically targeting these audiences. Right now, we cannot easily, let's say, we cannot easily engage with the audiences with classical TVC ads. It needs to be blending in with the content itself of content creators, of TikTokers, which I think creators, right? Not TikTokers. So basically how it needs to be is like blending in with the content itself is the new strategy for the brands. When they would like to reach to the audiences, they need to do it in the way that the TikTokers or creators are doing. So they need to ensure that they're going to be allowing the creators to announce, or let's say promote a content or whatever the message is along with them. And we are also using the music in this manner. Obviously, music is a good tool for creating and carrying the emotions to the, let's say, audiences, where creators are doing this very wisely and, say, very naturally.
You know, if you're, for example, are in a marketing team for a massive international corporation, and you get dictated guidelines from their headquarters abroad that say, you know, we're going to stick to a jingle and we're going to stick to consistency. This is, you know, the brands are always associated with the music that they've produced or have. How can the brands or the marketing managers here also leverage the powerful music that maybe the platform TikTok has to offer and turn it to their advantage? And, you know, how do they change and say, let go and let's use the TikTok music?
I understand, like the brands has got very strict rules when it comes to using music, especially using anyone or any artist as a brand ambassador, because they had to make lots of researches on this artist, their even private lives, or how they communicated before with other brands, etc., which I really respected. But just to give one example, for instance, one of the brands, which is a car brand, I'm sure all of us know, has gotten a wide number of customer advocacy, which they have got $0 of marketing budget yearly, and they say skyrocketed one car of them to the space, and they played one song in the space. It was a song of, let's say, it was, the name of the song was Space Oddity. So they just, with one song, I know there are many different indicators in that specific marketing campaign. They use $0, and it has become one of the most liked tweets of all times. So it's all about how the creativity involves in this situation, how the content creators are actually helping the brands to carry out their messages through music. I know there are many different indicators in here, but the content consumption and the marketing strategies are growing and changing, let's say, tremendously or super fast, so that they have to somehow adapt in this, let's say, new train, and they need to jump into this train and maybe like try at some point to experience how that can really impact their brand's awareness and how they can engage with the new audiences. Meanwhile, for sure, respecting their, let's say, marketing strategies and brands rules and all the lines around their brands.
Now, moving on from the world of brands to individuals, when I was growing up, we were told, you have to be very careful about what you post on Facebook or MySpace, for that matter, or even Pixo, in terms of how this could affect you in the future. And there's a generation that says, "Oh, we loved our past because we don't have any social media platforms from back then, so it's not going to affect our future at all." But for you, Mohammed, whatever you post now is leading you to future opportunities. So talk to us about how careful do you have to be that, okay, what I do right now isn't going to be cringeworthy in a few years' time. So how do you view it as when it comes to future planning?
So it goes back to the initial why. If I'm clear on my why and I have a really strong reason to post content, and I think through every piece of video that I put out there, then I have confidence that a few years down the line, or even 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I'll look back and I'll feel proud that I took that step. In terms of how careful do I need to be, as you get more and more followers and as you work with more and more brands, you start to stand for something, hopefully something good. And the idea is not to put on a face or a mask that's not really true, but the idea is to maintain that authenticity with how you represent yourself, how you speak, how you act. And so there is a responsibility, because now people are watching you, whether they're individual users or whether they're brands that are unsure whether or not they want to work with you. So you really need to weigh how, your words and how you present yourself, because a mistake now is multiplied several magnitudes instead of, just posting a video that will only be seen by a small number of people. So yeah, you do have to be pretty careful, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be yourself.
And any tips for people to monetize their content? How do they get them the attention of big brands?
So money, or monetization, and earning money from creating content is probably one of the things that a lot of people aspire to reach. And it's a pretty long process. No one just joins a platform and then all of a sudden a brand comes knocking on their door saying, "Hey, please create a video." You need to establish your presence. And the number one tip I would give goes back to the point of authenticity. Obviously, we have panelists who have worked with influencers, and they know that the choice of the influencer isn't a random one. It's a very careful study, to the detail of, yes, we want to go with this person, or we don't want to go with this person. So where creators usually go wrong is they want to focus on something that gives them views. They want to follow and join any trend, even if it doesn't align with their content, even if it's part of a completely different content vertical. And that puts them at risk, because you can't identify this person's online identity or this person's TikTok identity. What do they stand for? And that confuses brands. And for them, brands, they want clarity. They want someone who they know will represent them well, no matter what, or how the creator goes about doing that. So when you're authentic as a content creator and you wait long enough, you prove yourself time and time again through your results, then soon enough you will turn up to brands, and brands will start having those conversations. They will be interested. But if you're someone who's rushing to get into it and whose main and sole focus is just money, I personally don't believe you're going to last too long, because that's one of the wrong motivators in my personal opinion. And then secondly, you're probably going to mismanage or make some wrong decisions because you're prioritizing money over representing yourself authentically.
And so what's your tip in terms of getting it? Is it going through agencies, or is it maybe asking friends, or maybe if you have a personal connection with a marketing manager? How does it all work?
Connections certainly help. We all heard the statement that your network is your net worth. So that definitely could help. A proactive approach could help. Sometimes I've landed certain deals by reaching out to a certain brand or a certain company saying, "Hey, I have idea XYZ. I'd like to present it to you guys and see if we can work together." And sometimes that was fruitful. Other times I didn't get a response. It's like anything in life, there isn't a specific alleyway you have to go down. But at the end of it, what really makes or breaks a deal is you as a person on screen and off the screen, when they meet you and they feel like, yes, this is a person we can trust with representing us and being an ambassador for us, that usually facilitates and helps things move very quickly.
And have you had a moment? I know you've got millions of followers. Have you ever had moments where you've been disappointed with the number of views and thought, what on earth just went wrong?
Well, yes, because I'm human at the end of the day. And although I like to think of myself that I do better content as I gain more and more followers, but I'm still very prone to mistakes. Every time I try a new piece of content or a new style of content, or experiment with different things, I may or may not get certain things wrong or not as optimized in terms of content. And that is reflected on the views. If it's something that's completely different to what I usually post, then maybe the content is it doesn't get the views that I want. But at the end of the day, I look at other metrics to help me understand what I did right, what I can improve in the future, and then see how I can continuously experience that growth.
It's wonderful. And, what most of our viewers are watching is called ShamsTalks, how to grow your business using TikTok. And for business, we need to make money. It's talking about create a fund on TikTok. Let's move our conversation back to from TikTok's perspective. So what is this creator fund, and how can businesses or even content creators utilize it?
So we're always working on new ways of building that ecosystem, which includes creators, advertisers, and the general overall community that is active on the platform. And there's multiple initiatives that are going into action to help build this ecosystem and to make the lives of creators easier and to enable them to dedicate more and more of their time and their effort on the platform. This fund has been announced. It started in August in the US. It started at $200 million with a plan to grow to reach $1 billion over the next 3 years and to double that amount globally. The starting point was the United States, and the ambition is to expand it on a global scale. And by doubling it globally, we're talking about $2 billion over the next 3 years overall, when we include the global aspect of it. Where creators, so long as they are meeting the community guidelines, they have a minimum number of followers, which was 10,000 at the time. They are able to apply for this fund and to ensure, as obviously ensuring that their content is meeting the community guideline, but they are able to apply to this fund as one of number of initiatives that are in place to enable them basically to keep doing what they're doing. So that's the story of the fund. But beyond that fund, obviously there's a number of other initiatives that we do. Creator Marketplace was one. Other than Creator Marketplace, it's the day-to-day work we do. So my team, for example, at TikTok, we look after building partnerships with all of the retail and e-commerce movers and shakers. As we do that, we are always putting them in touch as well with creators, making recommendations of who would be the right creators. We have a content solutions team, and we have creator solutions team as well, where we are making these connections as well between brands and creators, sometimes directly and sometimes via an ecosystem of third parties and agencies that get involved, be it on media, be it on creative, be it on influencer management agencies. So the work is really, really broad, with the end game of let's keep building this ecosystem so that it's a win-win for everyone involved. For the brands to be able to deliver their communication messages in genuine ways, and the best way to do that is to partner via a creator, and for creators to be able to access all of these different initiatives and tools to be able to keep doing what they're doing.
So who qualifies for this creator studio or even the content marketplace? Because there might be an SMA, for example, Abdul Karim Burgers and Khurfa Khan. And if I want to get involved and say, I want to speak to TikTok and contact them directly, but they'll think, oh, I'm too much of a small player that I can't even reach TikTok. So
there's no such thing as too much of a small player in terms of creators or brands. Like this is a very like a democratic ecosystem. Some of the best content that you find on TikTok is made by creators who have very few followers at the start, and then obviously they start growing. When it comes to brands accessing, so I'll take your question into two parts. First, in terms of accessing the Creator Marketplace. Creator Marketplace is a free complementary website, basically, creatormarketplace.tiktok.com. You do have to register. So you have to prove that you work for company X, but it's a very simple few steps that you follow. And then when you do that, you can apply for access and you get access to navigate through it. Once you navigate through it, you're able to browse through, for example, in the region, Saudi, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. Hopefully soon we'll add other markets through more than 1,000 creators. Look at the data in terms of the engagement rates that they get. Look at different examples of content that they've done. And then you send a message where you get in touch directly with the creator. Now, what happens between the creator and the brand happens offline. So we as a platform, we don't get involved in terms of how much did this brand pay that creator. This happens offline, but it's literally a platform to bring them together. The second part of your question, which is how do they get in touch with TikTok, apart from creators and the marketplace overall, there's different number of ways. We focus a lot when it comes to SMBs or SMEs, small and medium businesses. So we do have all of our platform and most of our advertising solutions, specifically the ones focused on auction, driving advertising via auction, are accessible to anyone online. So you can access our ads manager and you can start advertising today as a small and medium business on the platform, even without us having a direct conversation. We also have a growth team that looks after medium-sized businesses. And then when it comes to key accounts, we are structured in a way that you have dedicated teams to service different verticals or different industries. My team, for example, looks after retail and e-commerce. So we work with most of the big companies within that industry. But no matter what the size of the company is, we will ensure that we find a way to service you and to support you because we care about the broader ecosystem.
It's wonderful in terms of these tools and initiatives that TikTok has been working on. We are fast approaching the conclusion of our program as well. So we would like to get some concluding remarks from our panelists. So let's start with Empire Entertainment in terms of growing business through TikTok. Is there a big perception saying, no, it's just a platform for the young ones to have fun? Talk to us about your final remarks on them, about why it's so important for businesses.
Well, for businesses, I think as long as you have a story to tell, it's a quick and efficient way to have different stories within one universe of a story. I don't know if that makes sense. You can easily create so many different kind of content around the same story, making it appealing on different levels to different kind of people. So I would definitely advise brands not to advertise on not to advertise TikTok itself, but to advertise the possibilities of communication on TikTok. And I think it's I think it's great to have a strong short content platform in the region that launched three years ago, I think. That's something like that. And maybe shout out of other platforms also coming in. I think the more the merrier.
George, thoughts on TikTok for business? Yes or no?
Definitely yes. I think over the last 2 years, we've done incredibly well on TikTok. It's great for driving top of mind awareness, top of the funnel, and then also working with great content creators to come up with stories that consumers love and engage with. It's definitely, we're doubling up, I think, our investment next year. We're super confident in it. It's a great sort of way to target a very specific audience. Yeah, definitely yes.
Well, let's move on to Mohammed Soidan then. There's going to be lots of small companies and medium enterprises or owners through the Sharjah Media City, and they'll be thinking, I have a virtual flexi desk set up. Why should I be on TikTok? I don't need to be. I've got my own network to be making my own business and getting them amplified through that.
So I can speak from a creator's perspective and say that TikTok has been completely life-changing. And in an essence, all you're doing is creating videos from your own perspective, but you never know, especially at the beginning and you're getting started with all that uncertainty, you never know where it reaches. And that's where the possibility lies. And for me personally, over the past couple of months, I've been on that platform for 1.5 years almost. The opportunities that have been presented purely thanks to TikTok have been numerous, such as being part of this wonderful panel, and as well as some really, really exciting opportunities coming down the future. And I believe that this experience translates not only for creators but also for brands and businesses. So it's an opportunity that's available to be used and available for everyone to join and participate, regardless of what kind of content they want to post or regardless of what kind of niche that they work in. And I highly encourage everyone to pick up their phone and create TikToks. Yeah.
Okay. And Ono, your thoughts on TikTok as a means of growing the business? Yes or no?
Definitely, yes. I can take it actually in two different ways. The first one is for the artists, and the other one is for the, let's say, brands themselves. So for the artists, starting from tier A artists to no-name artists, there are infinite opportunities for all parties, because like today, TikTok creates their own artists out of the blue. And new artists can just arise from just making some TikToks and showing their talents on this platform, and then they find a voice. And this is actually, as said before, it's a democratized platform which you can reach to new audiences with an right algorithm and right content itself. So in terms of the artist side, yes, definitely. When it comes to the brands, it's definitely a yes as well, because as we mentioned in the first hand, music is a great tool for creating and, let's say, carrying emotions to the audiences, where brands would love to use it in a right manner, obviously. And when it's done right, there are really nice examples of these outcomes.
And from the events perspective, Hola, how important can TikTok be about growing the presence and even attendance?
Well, I would say not only for an event perspective and it as well as the government entities perspective. I would say yes, if you were thinking of having a TikTok channel, you should go for it because it is really effective. And just be careful with having your message clear in your content and be creative. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. That's the key theme as well for all of you who've joined us through this Shams Talks. There'll be plenty more Shams Talks about topical discussions. So thank you all for tuning in on our Zoom platform. And thank you all for joining us in person as the team from Sharjah Media City. And thank you very much for them for hosting us here at a wonderful location such as House of Wisdom. If you haven't been to Sharjah yet, well, check out Sharjah through TikTok. Lots of information is out there, lots of amazing destinations to explore over here in this Emirates. And once again, thank you to Mr. Arif Yahya, Head of Retail and E-commerce at TikTok Global Business Solutions, Khola Al-Majani, Director of Fairs and Festivals at Sharjah Book Authority,
Thank you
Sergey
so much.
Zabal, the Business Director for Empire Entertainment, George Shempers, Head of Marketing at Deliveroo, Mohammed Swaidan, Influencer and Content Creator.
Thank you.
And Honor Alebadin, the Senior Business Development Manager of Qanawat Music. My name was Abdul Karim Hanif, presenter for Morning Majlis on Pulse 95 Radio, and it was an absolute pleasure to be hosting this discussion. I think I'll be moving on to making my new TikTok today on this fine event. And thank you all for joining in, and stay tuned for updates on when the next Shams Talks is going to be.